Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to another episode of Flow In, the space where we pause, we breathe, and we reconnect with ourselves from the inside out. I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode is all about relationships, but not just any relationships, the ones that truly nourish you, the ones where you feel seen, safe, and spiritually aligned. Because let me just say, it's easy to get caught up in surface level connections. We meet people, we vibe, we share laughs, but at some point, you start asking yourself, is this connection feeding my soul or just filling my time? And that's where spiritual alignment comes into play. I want to talk about what it means to be spiritually aligned with the people you love, whether that's your partner, your friends, your family, or even your community. Because, baby, surface can only take you so far. When life gets real, when challenges come, when you're growing, when you're healing, you need relationships that aren't just about convenience or comfort. You need relationships rooted in truth, in depth, in soul. And let me be clear, spiritual alignment doesn't mean you have to believe exactly the same things as someone else. It means your spirit recognizes each other's. It means you can be vulnerable, honest, and fully yourself without fear of being judged or dismissed. So today we're diving into what spiritual alignment really looks like in relationships, how to recognize when you're not spiritually aligned, my personal journey of learning to choose connection over convenience, and of course, some practical ways to build deeper, more aligned relationships in your life. So before we go any further, let's take deep breaths together. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds. And exhale slowly out of your mouth. One more time. Breathe in. Hold it. Exhale. Let yourself settle in. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start by getting clear on what I mean when I say spiritual alignment in relationships, because I know that term goes beyond the usual language of relationships. It's more energy-based and soulful. Some folk might find it unusual, but it's very important. Spiritual alignment in relationships mean that at a soul level, you and this person are moving in harmony. It means you see each other, not just the surface stuff, but the truth of who you are. Your values connect, your energy feels balanced, your communication is honest and open even when it's hard. Now let me just say this, spiritual alignment is not about being perfect. It's not about agreeing on everything. It's not about even having the same spiritual beliefs. I've seen people who share a religion but are completely out of alignment with each other's spirit. And I've seen people with totally different backgrounds who connect in a way that's so deep. So what does it look like when you're spiritually aligned with someone? It looks like being able to show up as your full self. Not just the happy, smiling version of you, but the real you. The you that's still healing, the you that's still figuring things out, and knowing that even in your vulnerability, you are still seen, still valued, and still safe. It looks like communication that isn't just polite, it's honest. You can say what you need, you can speak your truth, you don't have to hide, shrink, or pretend. It looks like growth, because spiritually aligned relationships don't stay stuck. They challenge you in a healthy way to become your best self, not through criticism or judgment, but through inspiration, support, and accountability. And it feels peaceful. Even when you disagree, it feels like being understood without always having to explain yourself. It feels like your spirit can breathe around this person. Now, on the flip side of things, When a relationship is not spiritually aligned, you can sense it too. It feels forced. It feels heavy. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, hiding parts of yourself, or constantly explaining who you are. There's tension, even in the good moments. Or there's some emptiness, like you're close, but you never really connected. And that's not what I want for you. I want you to experience relationships that don't just look good, but actually feel good deep down. But before we get into how to build those kinds of connections, we got to talk about how to even recognize when you're not spiritually aligned with someone. So now we'll get into the signs of what it looks like when a relationship in your life is not spiritually aligned. And look, I'm not talking about just having a rough patch. Every relationship has ups and downs. I'm talking about a deeper sense of disconnection that doesn't go away, a feeling that something just isn't right. Here are some clear signs that you may not be spiritually aligned with someone. Number 1, you feel drained instead of nourished. Every time you talk to them, your energy drops. You feel tense, anxious, or even empty afterwards. Instead of feeling seen and supported, you feel misunderstood or judged. It's like your spirit is always on guard around them. Number 2, you can't be your full authentic self. You're constantly editing yourself. You hide your true feelings, avoid certain topics, or shrink parts of your personality just to keep the peace. You feel like you have to put on a mask instead of showing up as the real you. Number 3, there's a lack of respect or empathy. They dismiss your feelings, minimize your experiences, or refuse to see things from your perspective. Healthy disagreements are normal, but when someone can't honor your emotions or even try to understand you, that's a disconnect. Number 4, you find yourself in constant conflict or constant avoidance. Sometimes spiritual misalignment shows up as a constant argument. You clash on everything, big or small. Other times, it's the opposite. There's this emotional distance, like you're just coexisting but not truly connected. Number 5, your values and priorities don't match. And this is a big one. It's not just about having different interests. It's about the deeper things. How you approach honesty, how you show love, how you handle challenges, what you believe in. When your core values are in conflict, it creates a constant tension beneath the surface. Number 6, you feel unsupported in your growth. When you try to heal, evolve, or pursue your dreams, they criticize you, discourage you, or make it about themselves. You feel like you're outgrowing them and they're not willing to grow with you. And let me say this with love. Sometimes the hardest things to accept is that you can love someone deeply but still be out of alignment with them. You can have history, good memories, a strong emotional connection, but if your spirits are not in harmony, the relationship will always feel like a struggle. But you don't have to settle for that. You are worthy of relationships that reflect the love, peace, and truth you're cultivating within yourself. Y'all know I like to show up and flow in, so let me share a little about my own experience with spiritual alignment in relationships, because at one time, this wasn't always something I understood. I used to think a good relationship just meant we got along, we had fun, we didn't have too much drama, the basic things. But what I learned over time, through a lot of hard lessons, is that a relationship can look great on the outside and still be misaligned on the soul level. I want to take you back to a time where I remember being in a friendship where we laughed all the time. We went out together, we shared secrets, but something always felt off. I would leave our conversations feeling drained, like I was the only one pouring, always encouraging, always being a strong one. But when I needed support, there was no reciprocity, and my growth seemed to threaten them. I ignored that feeling for a long time. My spirit was trying to tell me that the connection wasn't aligned, and I just didn't want to listen. Because sometimes we hold on to misaligned relationships out of comfort, out of history, and for some, out of not wanting to be alone. We tell ourselves, well, I've known them for so long, or nobody's perfect. But what I had to learn the hard way is that when you settle for misalignment, you're betraying yourself. And when I finally got honest with myself and allowed that friendship to fade, it created space for me to attract relationships that were actually nourishing. I also learned this lesson in romantic relationships. I've been in situations where I was trying so hard to make it work, communicating, compromising, doing all the things, but something in my spirit just felt heavy. I mean, we had a vibe, but not a foundation, no depth. It felt exciting, but not aligned. And I realized that I was trying to force a soul connection where there was only surface. But here's the thing, every experience taught me something. I learned to recognize the difference between a relationship that challenges me to grow in a healthy way and one that just drains me. I learned that love without alignment is not enough. And I learned that when you start honoring your spirit, you naturally start attracting relationships that reflect that same energy. But I also learned that alignment isn't about perfection. I have relationships in my life now that are deeply aligned, but that doesn't mean we never disagree. It means we can have honest conversations. We can support each other's growth. We can apologize and heal together. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about a relationship in your life that feels misaligned, I want you to know that you are not wrong for feeling that way. Your spirit knows, and you don't have to force what isn't in flow. But I also want to be clear. Spiritual alignment doesn't just happen by accident. It's something you have to create and nurture with intention. So let's talk about that. How do you actually build and maintain spiritually aligned relationships? Let's get into it. So now that we know what spiritual alignment is and how to recognize when it's missing, let's talk about how to actually build deeper, spiritually aligned connections in your life. Because I must say, alignment doesn't just happen. It's created, it's nurtured, it's a choice. And I want to give you some practical ways to do just that. First things first, you can't build spiritually aligned relationships without knowing what you value. So I want you to ask yourself, what are my non-negotiables? Is it honesty, emotional support, growth and self-awareness, respect for your spiritual beliefs? Get honest with yourself about what truly matters to you, not just what sounds good. And once you know your values, be willing to communicate them. You'd be surprised how many people are struggling in relationships simply because they've never shared what they actually needed. Example, maybe you value deep, honest communication. So instead of waiting for someone to magically understand that about you, you can say, having open, real conversations make me feel connected to you, and that's important to me. If they can't honor that, you already know where you stand. Prioritize emotional safety. Spiritual alignment can't exist without emotional safety. This means creating an environment where both you and the other person can show up as your authentic selves without fear of judgment, ridicule, or punishment. When they're vulnerable, listen instead of jumping to advice. When you're upset, express it without blaming or attacking. Create space for honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Because if someone doesn't feel safe with you, they can't be real with you. Practice soulful communication. Surface talk is cute, but it's not where alignment lives. If you want spiritually aligned relationships, you have to be willing to go deep. Ask questions that matter, like what's been on your heart lately? Share your thoughts and feelings without the fear of being misunderstood. And most importantly, listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. I always say communication isn't just about talking, it's about truly seeing and being seen. Honor your intuition, even in relationships. Y'all know we just had a whole episode on trusting your intuition, and this is exactly why it matters. Because sometimes your spirit will tell you when a connection is not right and when it needs to be deepened. If you feel tension or discomfort, don't ignore it. If you feel peace and joy with someone, honor that too. If you sense that a conversation is needed, don't avoid it. Alignment isn't always comfortable, but it's always real. Be open to growth together. Spiritually aligned relationships aren't stagnant, they grow just like you do. That means you have to be willing to evolve, to have new conversations, to heal old wounds, and to support each other's journeys. This doesn't mean you force someone to grow, but it does mean that you lead by example, by being willing to reflect, heal, and show up as your best self. And sometimes growth means letting go, because as you become more aligned with yourself, you may find that certain relationships naturally fade, and that's okay. Not every connection is meant to last forever, but the ones that are truly aligned, they get better with time. Surround yourself with spiritually aligned spaces. It's not just about the people you connect with, it's also about the environments you choose. Whether it's a community, a spiritual group, a podcast you listen to, or even your social media feed, surround yourself with energy that reflects the peace, growth, and truth you're seeking. When you're constantly feeding your spirit with alignment, it becomes easier to recognize and nurture it in your relationships. And look, building spiritually aligned relationships is a journey, not a destination. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about being honest, being open, and being willing to grow, both with yourself and with others. But now that you know what alignment looks like, you can be intentional. You can stop settling for surface connections. You can start inviting and nurturing relationships that actually feed your soul. So now let's talk about what this looks like in real life. Practical ways to deepen your connection and to stay spiritually aligned with the people who matter. All right, y'all. You know I love to keep things practical. It's one thing to understand spiritual alignment. It's another thing to actually create it and keep it alive in your relationships. So what I want to do is give you some simple but powerful flowing practices, ways you can start strengthening spiritually aligned connections in your life, starting today. Number 1, sacred check-ins. Sometimes life gets busy, and even the most aligned relationships can start to feel disconnected. But a simple way to keep that connection strong is through sacred check-ins. This can be with your partner, your best friend, or even a family member you're close with. Take a moment, whether it's once a week, once a month, or whenever you feel the need, and just check in with each other. Ask questions like, how's your heart been feeling lately? Is there anything you've been wanting to talk about? How can I support you better right now? And remember, these check-ins aren't just about venting. They're about creating a space where both of you can be seen and heard. Practice number 2. Honest, heart-centered conversations. Spiritual alignment thrives in honesty. But honesty isn't just about saying whatever's on your mind. It's about speaking with love and listening with an open heart. So here's a practice. When you're having a tough conversation with someone you care about, start with intention. Say something like, I want to share this with you because I care about us and our connection, and I want us to grow. This helps the other person know that you're coming from a space of love, not criticism. And when they're sharing, don't just listen to respond, listen to understand. Create rituals for connection. One of the most beautiful ways to keep your relationship aligned is by creating shared rituals. This could be something as simple as a weekly phone call where you both share your highs and lows, a morning text where you send each other a quote or affirmation, a monthly soul session where you sit down together, light a candle, and talk about your spiritual journeys. Rituals give your relationship a sacred place to breathe, grow, and be nourished. Set energetic boundaries with love. Not every relationship in your life will be spiritually aligned, and that's okay. But you can still honor your peace by setting loving, clear boundaries. Maybe you have a friend who you love, but they always bring drama into your space. Or maybe there's a family member who constantly drains you with their negativity. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting people off. It means being honest about what you cannot hold. For example, be like, I love you, but I'm not in a place to hold space for this kind of conversation right now. Or, I value our connection, but I need us to be mindful of how we speak to each other. Boundaries protect your energy, and they also teach others how to love you better. Practice self-reflection. Here's the thing. Spiritually aligned relationships start with a spiritually aligned self. So make it a habit to check in with yourself. How do you feel in your relationships? Energized or drained? Are you showing up as your authentic self? Or are you shrinking to fit? Are you surrounded by people who support your growth? Or people who keep you stagnant? Take time to reflect on these questions, journal about them, or even meditate on them, because the clearer you become within yourself, the clearer you become about who is meant to be in your life. Flowing together. You know I had to include this one. Invite the people you care about to flow in with you. This can mean doing a meditation together, like the one we do at the end of every episode. It can mean listening to an inspiration podcast episode and talking about it afterwards. You can even use this episode. Or simply taking a deep breath together in the middle of a stressful moment. Alignment isn't just something you talk about. It's something you experience. So here's my invitation for you. Don't just hope for spiritually aligned relationships. Create them. Show up as your authentic self. Be willing to communicate. Set boundaries where you need them. And let love flow. But let it flow in truth. You deserve connections that feed your soul. And you deserve to be surrounded by people who see you, who honor you, and who choose you. Before we close, I want to lead you in one last practice, an opportunity for you to pause, breathe, and come back home to yourself. Let's flow in together. Let everything we talked about settle into your spirit, not as pressure, but as permission. Permission to choose relationships that feel like peace. Permission to release connections that no longer honor who you're becoming. Permission to trust your inner knowing, even when it's hard. So let's slow it all down and reconnect with our breath. Whenever you are ready, gently close your eyes if it feels safe, or just soften your gaze. Relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, Bring your hands to your heart and take deep breath in through your nose. And slowly exhale through your mouth. Let's do that again. Breathe in love and breathe out anything heavy. Now just breathe naturally as I speak this affirmation over you. I trust myself to choose relationships that align with my highest self. I am worthy of deep, honest, soul-nourishing connections. I do not chase, force, or shrink. I attract alignment by being fully me. As I flow inward, I create space for love that flows with me, not against me. I release what no longer serves me, and I welcome what reflects my truth. Take one more deep breath in and let it all go. You are safe, you are seen, you are supported. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. If this episode touched something in you, share it with someone you love. Have that deeper conversation. Create those rituals. Let this be the moment you stop settling and start aligning. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Flowing Podcast so you never miss an episode. Every Thursday, 9 a.m., I'm here for you with truth, with tools, and with love. Until next time, flow inward, live aligned, and keep choosing what feeds your spirit.